Good afternoon YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Now we're headed to a little town called Pliska. We get some really interesting things to see, so we're going to go there. We're all about 20 kilometres away from there. Johnny Boy was just pointing out there that this Toyota Aygo that we're in here at the moment is probably about the same weight as the Royal Enfield Himalayan without the panniers attached. So if you use your imagination, just pretend that we're in a bike. What we're looking at here, folks, is one of the entrances into what would have been the largest fortress in the whole of Europe. This is a 23 square kilometre enclosure, something in the region of 5,700 acres. Absolutely vast. You can see the wall stretching away. Let's have a look in here. So you can see the newer blocks here. Some of this is restoration work. Just doing a sort of rough estimate, we reckon the walls, this gate entrance is about 13 metres. Just striding it out. This little cat, looking for a friend, he's following me everywhere. This place is undoubtedly one of the most important places in Bulgaria historically. And that's because in 680 CE, the Bulgars actually came across the Danube north of here and invaded this area. This place was occupied at that time mainly by Slavic farmers, and they set up what would essentially have been their fortress in this area. It would have been tented originally, and it's thought that they built, well, it's not thought, we know that they built earthen ramparts all the way around here, and then the walls came later. But by the time the 8th century came along, they were building things like this. This was the Krum Palace. You can still see the foundations of it here, quite impressive. So we're talking about somewhere in the 700s. That's an old building. Now, the Bulgars, of course, gave this country its name, Bulgaria. And this is where they first came to. It's unbelievable when you come through this tiny little town of Pliska here, yeah? It's just like a lot of the little villages and towns around here. Yeah, they're all pretty similar. But this was essentially the first capital of Bulgaria. So I'm walking on what would have been the foundations of this palace dating back to the 8th century. You can see just how thick the foundations were. Of course the walls would have been built on top of here. Now I have a feeling that pretty much similar to the Roman style. See these ducts and stuff? I believe this would have been heated under here to heat the palace in the winter. I could be wrong, but we can check that out when we get to the museum further along here. I reckon this would be the outer wall. How straight it is, it's just straight as a die along here. Ah, there we go. This here is the Great Basilica. It's a cathedral. And believe it or not, it dates back to about 870. So really early. You see the sort of Greek or Romanesque style pillars that they've got here. This stuff looks older again actually. I think a lot of this must be, some of this must be restoration work. It's huge. Considering this is about what, 1200 years old. Look at the work. Amazing. In terms of size, this compares with any of your, well, you don't call them modern cathedrals obviously, but you know, some of your large cathedrals in Rome, Canterbury, you're looking at that kind of size easily. What we're seeing in this main area is pretty much the tip of the iceberg, folks. There's walls and buildings all out through these trees, stretching for hundreds of yards. See, this wasn't just a cathedral, although that was its main purpose. It's also a school. Yeah, so how they know that, I don't know, but obviously they do. So the cathedral here would have serviced what was essentially this vast walled city here at Pliska. 23 square kilometres. made this the largest fortified town in Europe, probably in all of history. You'll find it difficult. You know, this is much larger than Rome. It's much larger than any walled town that I can think of. Now, if you can think of something bigger than Pliska, good luck. And if you can, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Let's talk about the first time you and I were on a bike together, John. I've been riding pillion. Is that right?
Yes.
So, how long ago was this and what happened exactly?
35 years ago.
Got room for one more if you still want to go to Aspen.
It was an RD250 Yamaha LC. RD means race developed.
Standard chat.
Yes.
Right.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Hold on tight, lean with me.
Yes.
Aye, that time, alright.
So I then started to go a bit faster. Quite a bit faster actually.
Yep.
And I went into a right hand bend. And Martin got a wee bit of fright because his right knee was just about touching the ground.
So we're knee down at 10 years old, yep.
Yep.
On a right hand bend.
Decided to sit the bike upright. He sat back up to the left, trying to pull the bike back up, maybe 90 mile an hour, and kick the back wheel back into the ground and pull him back into the corner with me. So we come back out the corner and he was screaming.
So we went knee down to the right and I decided to go knee down left.
Left, yes. But you were alright after that. Once you stopped shaking, you were fine. Maybe I installed that 2 wheels on him, I don't know.
So guys, this is the round golden church in Preslav. It's quite a special place and I'll explain why in a second. So look at this guy. You can throw coins in there for good luck. This church again is of course very old. There was a church commissioned here around the 9th or 10th century. Again, we're seeing these arches and these pillars, they're actually marble. Certainly that's how they feel to me. But also read online that this is considered to be the site of the oldest Christian church in Europe, dating back to 320 AD, 320. So that would have been right after the time that Christianity was being an accepted religion essentially across the European continent. So this site here would have been the oldest church, or is essentially the oldest Christian church. Some of this, as I say, was commissioned around the 9th or 10th century. We come outside here, we can see, quite easily see some of the archaeology here. I wouldn't be surprised if this part here might have been part of that original, sort of 4th century, 320 AD church. Again, if we look down over this wall here, this is a fortified church essentially. We look down over the wall here, there's some older archaeological work down there as well. It's an incredibly impressive building. But what we're going to head to now is Pliska Fortress, which is right here actually. We'll talk about that and why that was so important as well. This is the old fortress of Veliki Preslav. It was a town fortress, and in 893 it was declared the capital of the Bulgarian state. In fact, the capital of the Bulgarian Empire. So after that last place we were at, this then became the second capital of Bulgaria. Preslav here was known as the sort of spiritual and literary heart of Bulgaria. And this is where the Cyrillic language was actually created. Now most people think of that as being a Russian alphabet. Sorry, the Cyrillic alphabet. Yeah, most people think of that as being a Russian alphabet. It's actually the alphabet for up to 50 languages, and it was started here in Bulgaria. In medieval times was considered to be one of the grandest towns in medieval Europe. But that only lasted up until about 970. The town was conquered by Kiev, or Kievan Rus, in 970, and then conquered a year later by the Byzantines. And that was pretty much the end of the golden era for this town here, or this city. Anyway, next week we're back to working on the Himalayan. I've got a fair few little jobs to do. back in Argyll for a few days as well, and I've got a few plans to ride around up there, so we'll be back on the bike, we'll be back doing some bike vlogs again, so that'll be nice. Anyway, that's it for this one, guys. I really hope you liked it. If you did, give us a thumbs up, subscribe down below, maybe even hit the notification bell so you know the next time I upload a video to YouTube. And I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta, Johnny!
Ta-ta!